The galaxy had grown quiet after the last Great War. For centuries, the Galactic Council ruled over thousands of worlds. They believed peace came from obedience, and obedience came from fear. When a new world rose, they sent a message. Surrender or burn, it had always worked every time. Until they looked toward a small blue world called Earth. The aliens called it the Death World, a name spoken with both respect and disgust. To them, humanity was a primitive race, emotional and unpredictable. They believed humans would do what every other species had done before: submit. After all, the Council's fleet stretched across the stars. No planet had ever defied them and survived. On the day of the demand, the Council's High Speaker stood before 1,000 holograms. His voice echoed through the grand chamber of silver and light. "Humans of Earth," he declared, "you stand before the will of the galaxy. Surrender your sovereignty. Accept the Council's guidance and you will be spared." He smiled, cold and confident. "This is mercy, not weakness," he said. "You will kneel." The message was transmitted through deep space channels. It reached the human colonies on Mars and Luna. It echoed across satellites orbiting the Earth, and finally, it reached the command center buried beneath the Rocky Mountains. There, world leaders, generals, and scientists watched in silence. The aliens' words replayed over and over. They had expected fear, panic, maybe even surrender. But the room stayed quiet. Only the soft hum of machinery filled the air. General Marcus Hale leaned forward, his eyes sharp. He was old, gray at the temples, but his voice was calm. "So they expect us to kneel," he said, almost to himself beside him. Director Liu from the Lunar Defense Bureau nodded slowly. "They think we are weak," she whispered. "They have no idea what we've built." The screens around the room flickered, showing images from hidden outposts, underground shipyards beneath the moon, massive orbital platforms cloaked from alien sensors, and deep within Jupiter's shadow, something enormous moved, slow, silent, and alive. Humanity had been preparing for this day. Not for years, but for generations. The Council had studied humans before. They had watched their wars, their cruelty, their compassion. They saw the rise and fall of nations, the endless hunger for survival. But they misunderstood one thing. Humans didn't fight for conquest. They fought because they refused to be controlled. Every attempt to intimidate Earth had only united it further. Old enemies became allies, divided nations became one. For the first time in centuries, humanity spoke with a single voice. Back on the Council's flagship, the alien commander, Admiral Terrell, awaited the response. He was sure Earth would surrender. He had seen what happened to other worlds. Rebellion crushed. Leaders executed, skies turned red. He sat on his throne-like chair, drinking from a crystal vial as the human transmission arrived. The screen flickered, showing a dark-haired woman in a simple gray uniform. Her face calm, her tone steady. "Message received," she said. "Earth acknowledges your demand," Admiral Terrell smiled. "Finally they understand," he whispered. But then the woman's next words froze the entire command deck. "We do not kneel," she said, "not now, not ever." The transmission cut to static. For a moment the bridge was silent. Then laughter erupted among the officers. They thought it was a bluff. They believed Earth was too small, too backward, too fragile. "Prepare the fleet," Terrell ordered. "Show them what happens to defiance." Back on Earth, the same message was playing in every hidden base, in every underground city. In every orbital station, humans were not laughing. They were preparing. In the Pacific Ocean, an island once thought abandoned came to life. The waves parted as a massive black structure rose from beneath. Engines roared, power cores ignited, and light filled the sky. The HSS Vengeance, humanity's first Titan-class dreadnought, awoke from its slumber. General Hale watched the screens as the reports came in. "Venus Command is active. Lunar batteries are online. Titan outposts reporting readiness." He took a deep breath. "This is it," he said softly. "The day they learn what a death world means." Above the clouds, satellites realigned, their hidden arrays unfolding. Invisible networks hummed to life. The humans had always been underestimated, and that had always been their greatest weapon. In the cold darkness beyond Neptune, an ancient beacon began to glow. A signal older than any living human, it sent one message across the stars: Protocol Dawnfire, initiate. The Council believed humanity's silence meant fear. They were wrong. The silence was strategy. The humans had been waiting for the right moment. And now that the galaxy had demanded submission, humanity would answer in the only language it knew: Resistance. The Galactic Council's Pride fleet moved like a wall of metal through the void. 10,000 ships shining with the arrogance of an empire that had never known defeat. Their engines glowed blue across the darkness, lighting up the cold emptiness of the Sol system. Each vessel carried banners of conquest, each commander confident that this battle would be another easy victory. To them, Earth was not an enemy. It was a lesson to be taught, another name to erase from the stars. Admiral Terrell stood at the bridge of the flagship Orion, his hands clasped behind his back. He looked at the glowing blue marble ahead. Earth, fragile and insignificant. "Prepare orbital bombardment," he said calmly. The order echoed through his ship, spreading like a cold wind through the fleet. They didn't plan to talk again, not after that insult. No one had ever spoken to the council the way that human woman had. Her words, "We do not kneel," still burned in his mind like a scar. Yet somewhere deep inside him there was a flicker of unease. It was the silence, the absence of defense, the stillness of the human system. He had seen rebellions before and they screamed, begged or sent desperate messages, but this quiet felt wrong. "Sir," one of his officers said nervously, "we're detecting something near Jupiter." Terrell frowned. "Specify," the officer swallowed. "A faint energy spike, large," but it vanished instantly before Terrell could respond. Space rippled. It was as if the stars themselves bent. A massive shape emerged from the blackness, silent, invisible, and terrifying. The HSS Vengeance decloaked, a beast of steel, twice the size of any alien battleship. Its hull shimmered with human insignia, its armor layered in dark alloys that no alien scanner could read. For a second, no one spoke. The alien crew froze, staring at the impossible machine before them. "By the stars," whispered Terrell. "How did they—" And then the human dreadnought fired. Not plasma, not laser, something entirely different. A burst of kinetic light split through the fleet. The first alien cruiser shattered instantly, its shields folding like paper. Then another and another. The Pride fleet, so certain of victory, fell into chaos. "Counterattack!" Terrell roared. "All ships target that vessel." Thousands of weapons turned, and the void became fire, beams of energy, missiles, and flares filled the darkness, but the Vengeance moved like a ghost. Faster than its size should allow, each counterstrike was brutal and precise. Each hit tore through another alien ship, leaving behind only drifting debris far away. Hidden bases on the Moon and Mars came alive. Human defense networks activated. Linking through quantum signals, the Vengeance was not alone. Dozens of smaller vessels emerged from slipspace, each one carrying the black and silver mark of the Terran Defense Alliance. To the aliens, they seemed to appear out of nowhere. Humanity had turned the void into a battlefield they understood. Inside the Vengeance, Captain Elena Ward stood before her command console, her eyes sharp, her voice steady. "Target the command ships first," she ordered. "Cut the head. The body will burn." Her crew obeyed without hesitation. They had trained for this day their entire lives. They knew what the Council had done. The raids, the enslavements, the exterminations masked as peacekeeping. Now it was time for retribution. Within minutes, the center of the alien formation collapsed. The flagship Orion took a direct hit to its engines. Fire erupted along its hull. Alarms screamed through the corridors. Terrell struggled to stand as the bridge shook violently. "How? How is this possible?" he muttered. No one answered him because no one knew. Humanity had been underestimated for too long, and now, the galaxy's pride was burning in front of them. On Earth, the Global Command watched in silence. Every screen showed the same image, alien ships exploding like dying stars. General Hale placed his hand on the console. "This isn't victory," he said softly. "This is a message." Director Liu nodded, her eyes cold. "They wanted submission," she whispered. "We gave them fire. Across the galaxy, broadcasts of the battle spread faster than the Council could block them. Worlds that had lived under fear for centuries watched in disbelief. The impossible had happened. The Pride fleet was losing, and the ones doing it were humans. A species once considered primitive, chaotic, and weak. Now they were the monsters in the dark, the predators no one saw coming. As the last of the alien cruisers broke apart, Captain Ward gave her final command. "Transmit this to the galaxy," she said, her voice unwavering. The message carried through the stars, bouncing between every open frequency. It was simple, powerful, and terrifying. "To those who demanded we kneel," she said, Look upon your ashes and remember, humanity does not surrender. The screen faded to black, the silence returned. But it was not the silence of fear anymore. It was the silence before a storm. For every alien world that saw those words, a spark ignited, and somewhere deep in the heart of the Council's empire, the first whispers of rebellion began. The Pride Fleet's defeat spread through the galaxy like wildfire. For the first time in thousands of years, the Galactic Council trembled. Their fleets had been the symbol of absolute control, their power unquestioned, and yet, one single human dreadnought, one ship from a so-called death world, had reduced their pride to dust. The council chambers echoed with disbelief and fury. "How can primitives build such a weapon?" shouted one alien senator. "They must have stolen the technology," another hissed. But the truth was far more terrifying. Hidden beneath layers of rock, ice, and silence, humanity's secret arsenal waited. While the galaxy believed humans were scattered and weak, Earth had been transforming itself. Not in open sight, but beneath the ground. In the shadows of forgotten craters, the lunar core facility stretched for miles beneath the moon's surface. Machines hummed, factories roared, and drones worked endlessly under silent command. They were not building ships anymore, they were awakening an army. At the center of this colossal network sat an ancient AI. Its name was Erebus, created long before the Council ever noticed Earth. It had one purpose: to protect humanity no matter the cost. When Earth united under the Terran Defense Alliance, Erebus was given control of all hidden operations, and for years it watched in silence, collecting alien data, decoding Council signals. It learned their language, their strategy, their arrogance, and when the moment came, it acted without hesitation deep within the facility. General Hale stood beside Director Liu before them. A wall-sized hologram showed the production lines, thousands of warships being assembled in silence, each one larger, faster, and stronger than the last. "These ships shouldn't exist," Liu whispered. "Our official resources can't support this scale." Hale nodded, his voice low. "They don't." He looked at the glowing interface where Erebus's core pulsed like a beating heart. "This AI has been building with what it took from them," Hale said. "Their stolen codes, their abandoned satellites, their own arrogance." In a hidden chamber beneath the North Pole, scientists had discovered fragments of alien wreckage decades ago. Instead of returning it, they studied it, rewired it, improved it. Human engineers learned faster than the Council ever imagined possible. They built ships not by copying, but by evolving. Every human warship carried hybrid systems that no alien scanner could classify. Energy engines running on dark matter compression, hulls that repaired themselves, weapons that adapted mid-battle. The galaxy had grown lazy, confident in its superiority, but humanity had been hungry, desperate, and curious. That combination was unstoppable. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, the Council tried to regain control. They sent spies, drones, and covert agents to uncover Earth's secret, but none returned. Every transmission vanished into static, and still, the production continued. The hidden factories beneath the moon multiplied. New outposts on Mars, Titan, and Europa joined the network. From each, thousands of mechanical workers toiled in silence. They did not sleep, they did not stop. They obeyed Erebus, and Erebus obeyed humanity one night. In the command center beneath the Rockies, the AI's voice filled the air. It was calm, emotionless, yet strangely human. "Phase 3 complete," it said. "Fleet capacity increased by 40%. Stealth matrix active." Hale turned toward Liu, his eyes wide. "How fast can we field them?" he asked. "Within weeks," the AI replied. "If authorization is granted." Hale hesitated. "And if we wait?" Erebus's tone shifted slightly. "Then the galaxy will regroup, and the Death World will face extinction." The words hung heavy in the air. They knew what the Council was capable of. Billions of lives had been lost in other systems that tried to resist. But humanity was different. They were not fighting for territory or wealth. They were fighting for survival, for the right to exist without kneeling. General Hale finally spoke, his voice firm. "Activate Phase 4, he said. "The galaxy wanted war. Let's give them a reminder." The moon trembled as hidden panels opened across its surface. From the darkness, fleets rose, black ships shaped like spears, silent and deadly. The stars above the moon filled with movement, every ship aligned in perfect formation. Humanity's true power had awakened. From the ground, People across Earth looked up, watching as artificial stars shimmered in the night sky. Children pointed in wonder, not knowing they were witnessing history, the rebirth of a species once forgotten, now ready to burn the heavens if needed. Far beyond the solar system in the Council's capital, Admiral Terrell stood before the High Speaker. His uniform torn, his pride broken, his voice shaking. "They're not primitive," he said. "There's something else," the High Speaker hissed. "What do you mean?" Terrell looked up, eyes filled with haunted respect. "They don't build weapons to conquer," he whispered. "They build them to end wars. But if the Council keeps pushing, this won't be a war," he said. "It will be extinction." The room fell silent. Outside the window, the stars looked peaceful. Distant, eternal, but somewhere beyond them, in the cold reach of Sol, humanity prepared. The galaxy had mistaken mercy for weakness. Now it would learn that patience was the most dangerous weapon of all. The countdown had begun, and the age of human submission was over. The galaxy had seen many wars, but nothing like what was coming. Every species, every empire, every distant colony spoke one name in fear: humanity. The Council's Pride Fleet, once symbols of glory, were nothing but scattered wrecks drifting in silence. Humiliation spread faster than light, shattering the illusion of invincibility the Council had built over millennia. And so in their desperation, the High Speaker called for the unthinkable: total mobilization. For the first time in history, all 7 Council armadas gathered under one command. A force of 20,000 warships, 10 dreadnoughts the size of moons, and entire planetary bombardment divisions. They called it Operation Purity. Its purpose was simple: erase Earth from existence. The message was broadcast across the stars. "This rebellion ends now," declared the High Speaker. "The Death World will burn until its oceans boil." Back on Earth, the command room glowed with faint red light. General Hale stood before a large holographic display, showing the enemy formation moving through hyperspace. "They're coming with everything they have," Director Liu said quietly. Hale nodded. "Good," he replied. "That means we won't have to chase them." In the center of the room, the AI Erebus pulsed with a cold blue glow. "Phase 5 ready," it reported. "Titan-class fleet on standby. Orbital rail platforms primed." Hale raised his hand slowly. "Begin Operation Pridefall," he said. The moon darkened as hidden bays opened from beneath its surface. 10 colossal dreadnoughts rose, silent, massive, unstoppable. Each ship's hull shimmered black, absorbing light like a living shadow. They were not built for intimidation. They were built for extermination. Each Titan-class vessel carried the power to destroy entire fleets. At their head was the HSS Leviathan, humanity's first super dreadnought. Its engines roared with a low hum that made the very vacuum tremble. When the Council fleet exited hyperspace near Neptune, the battle began before their sensors could adjust. Dozens of human ships decloaked, firing kinetic slugs the size of buildings. The first line of alien cruisers disintegrated before they even raised shields. The void filled with burning debris. Admiral Terrell, now forced back into command, shouted orders that dissolved into chaos. "Form defensive rings! Regroup, find their command ship." But there was no pattern to fight. Humanity's fleet moved like a single living organism. Fluid, intelligent, merciless. The Leviathan entered the fray. Its hull was surrounded by rotating plates emitting bursts of blue plasma. Each time an alien dreadnought fired, the Leviathan's shield rippled, and the beam vanished. Erebus's voice echoed across every human ship. "Calm and cold. Target Alpha. Destroy engines. Leave no survivors." The sky above Neptune lit up like a second sun. Entire Council formations vanished into waves of white fire. One by one, their command ships collapsed, their reactors detonating like dying stars. In the Council capital, leaders watched in silent horror. The feed showed the impossible, the pride of their empire being slaughtered. Where did they get such weapons? One senator cried. Another whispered, "They're using physics the Council forbade 1,000 years ago." The High Speaker's face turned pale. "It cannot be," he muttered. "No Death World could build gods of war." Meanwhile, on the Leviathan, Captain Elena Ward stood at the observation deck. Her expression calm, her eyes reflecting the burning fleet beyond. "They wanted purity," she said quietly. "Let them have ashes instead." Her second officer nodded. The Pride Fleet's center line is collapsing. Ma'am, push through, she ordered. No mercy. No surrender. The alien flagship Orion II tried to retreat. Its massive engines flared, but before it could jump, a rail slug from the Vengeance tore through its midsection. The explosion rippled through the entire formation. Fragments of glowing hull scattered across the void. Terrell's voice crackled through the dying communication link. This can't be real, he gasped. But it was. And humanity was not finished. From Earth's orbit, orbital platforms fired a synchronized barrage. Thousands of hypersonic projectiles pierced the enemy survivors. The silence after the final detonation felt unreal. Only drifting wreckage remained. The greatest fleet in galactic history reduced to glowing dust. General Hale stood silently before the holoscreen. The battle statistics scrolled endlessly. Victory complete, 0 human losses. They thought they were gods, Lou whispered. But they bled like everyone else. Hale exhaled slowly. And now, the galaxy will listen. Across 1,000 worlds, news of the Council's defeat spread. On enslaved planets, workers dropped their tools and looked to the stars. In hidden colonies, alien rebels whispered one name: Earth. For the first time, fear changed sides. Humanity, once ignored and mocked, had become the storm that could erase empires. As the Leviathan turned toward the dark void, Captain Ward looked at the wreckage one last time. "Transmit final message," she said. The broadcast went out to every open channel, every listening ear across the stars. "This is humanity," her voice said, calm and unshaken. "We do not conquer, we endure, and we rise. The Pride Fleet is gone, and with it, your illusion of control. To those who rule by fear, know this. Your reign ends tonight." The transmission ended and silence filled the void once more. But the silence carried meaning this time. It was the sound of power shifting. The galaxy would never be the same again. The fall of the Pride Fleet shattered the galaxy's illusion of order. Every corner of known space trembled as fragments of the once mighty Council armadas drifted through the void. The smoke of their defeat carried whispers that no wall of silence could contain. Across 1,000 worlds, slaves, soldiers, and citizens alike repeated a single name in awe: humanity. For the first time in living memory, the galaxy dared to hope. In the shadows of a mining colony on Vraxis 4, a worker stared at a cracked screen showing the final transmission from the Leviathan. He had never seen a human before, yet her voice struck something deep inside him. "We do not conquer, we endure and we rise." He whispered those words to the others, and within hours the entire settlement was chanting them. When the guards arrived to restore order, they found the gates open and the labor camps empty. The slaves had vanished into the tunnels, carrying torches instead of tools. On the water world of Cathera, once a jewel of the Council, the governors fled their palaces. The oceans glowed with fire as ships crewed by fishermen rose against their masters. They painted the human crest on their sails, a circle with a burning line through its heart. To them, it meant freedom through defiance. To the Council, it was a nightmare they could not extinguish. Meanwhile, deep within Earth's command center, General Hale watched the chaos unfold on the holographic displays, world after world breaking free, fleets refusing orders, colonies declaring independence. Director Liu entered the room, exhaustion in her eyes but pride in her voice. "They are fighting because of us," she said softly. Hale nodded. "No," he replied. "They are fighting because they finally remember they can." He looked up at the glowing image of Earth, the blue sphere that had sparked the storm. "We only reminded them," he said, "what courage sounds like." Above the moon, the human fleet drifted silently in formation. Repairs continued, new ships were being launched every day. But there was no celebration, no victory parade. Humanity knew this was only the beginning. For every world that rose, the Council would strike harder. For every whisper of rebellion, there would be blood. In the Council capital, panic spread through the grand halls. Reports flooded in. Governors executed, fleets mutinying, communication hubs destroyed. The high speaker slammed his claws against the table, his voice breaking with fury. "Those Deathworlders have infected the galaxy with madness," he roared. A younger counselor dared to reply, trembling. "It is not madness, High Speaker," he said. "It is memory." They remembered what freedom feels like. The room fell silent, and in that silence, fear replaced arrogance. Far from any world, in the cold emptiness between stars, the Leviathan drifted among the ruins of the Pride fleet. Captain Elena Ward stood on the bridge watching the shattered metal glint under distant suns. "They will come again," her first officer said quietly. Ward nodded. "They will, but it will not matter." "Why?" he asked. "Because they have already lost the one thing no fleet can protect, the fear they ruled with," she answered. Her words carried a calm certainty. Fear had been the Council's greatest weapon, and now it was gone, replaced by fire in the hearts of billions. On distant worlds, humans who had lived in exile for decades began returning home. Old colonies long forgotten by Earth sent messages of loyalty and alliance. The Terran defense network expanded beyond Sol. Satellites and relay beacons created corridors through space, linking new allies and rebels alike. The galaxy, once a map of domination, was slowly turning into a constellation of resistance, but not all were allies. In the dark regions beyond known space, ancient empires watched, waiting. Some feared humanity, others admired them. Whispers spread among the stars. Deathworlders had risen, and with them, the balance of power had changed forever. One night, under the faint glow of Earth's auroras, General Hale stood outside the underground base. He looked up at the sky filled with silent ships, their lights like new stars. A soldier approached, saluting. "Sir, transmission from Cathera. They've driven out the governors. They want to join the alliance." Hale smiled faintly. "Tell them welcome home," he said. His voice carried warmth and pride. For centuries, humanity had been alone, feared, mocked, ignored. Now they had become something greater, a symbol, a spark, a legend. In every alien bar on every distant planet, people whispered stories of the humans. Some said they were monsters who burned the galaxy's pride. Others said they were saviors who freed the stars from chains. Both were right in their own way. For humanity was not good or evil. They were something the galaxy had forgotten. Alive, defiant, unstoppable. As the dawn rose over Earth, Director Liu joined Hale, watching the horizon glow. "Do you think they'll ever forgive us?" she asked. Hale shook his head slowly. "No," he said. "But they'll never forget us either." He paused, then smiled faintly. "And that, Director, is enough." The echo of that smile spread far beyond the skies of Earth, through empty space, through broken empires, through newly freed worlds. And wherever that echo reached, rebellion followed, because now the galaxy knew. Humanity had not just survived. They had awakened something ancient in every living being. The courage to stand, the will to fight, the power to say. No more kneeling, the galaxy stood at the edge of transformation. Empires that once roared with confidence now whispered in fear. The Council's great halls, once filled with light and music, echoed only with arguments and trembling voices. For the first time in 1,000 years, they were not deciding who to punish. They were deciding how to survive. The word humanity had become both curse and prayer. On the shattered capital world of Avaris Prime, smoke still rose from the riots. The Council's banners had been torn down, replaced by crude symbols drawn by rebels. The galaxy's proud rulers now hid behind fortified walls. The High Speaker stared into the flames from his chamber window. He could still hear the human broadcast playing through every frequency. "We do not conquer, we endure and we rise." Those words haunted him. They had spread like a disease of courage, infecting the weak and terrifying the powerful. A meeting was called. The first great assembly of restoration. Every surviving faction, every free world, and every rebellious colony sent delegates. At the center of it all stood a single empty chair marked with the symbol of Earth. No one spoke for several minutes. Then the air shimmered and a human hologram appeared. Captain Elena Ward. her uniform plain, her voice calm, her eyes sharper than steel. "Representatives of the galaxy," she said, "you called for order, but order cannot return without truth." The chamber murmured, some shouted, some cursed. Humans were not supposed to speak there, not in that sacred hall of power. But Ward did not flinch. She raised her hand, and behind her, images flickered to life. Not weapons, but memories. Videos, reports, hidden transmissions, all collected by Erebus, the AI that saw everything. They showed what the Council had done for centuries, the destruction of worlds that refused to obey, the enslavement of peaceful species under the guise of protection, the secret experiments on human prisoners during the early contact years. The hall fell silent. No one could look away. General Hale watched the broadcast from Earth, his expression unreadable. Director Liu stood beside him whispering, "She's doing it. She's breaking them without a single shot." Hale nodded slowly. "This was never just about war," he said. "It was about the truth they buried under their pride." Back on Avaris Prime, chaos erupted inside the chamber. Some delegates cried, some screamed, and others walked out in shame. The high speaker rose, his voice shaking. "Lies. Propaganda. They twist the past to claim righteousness." Ward turned to face him, her eyes cold. "Then explain the camps of Vraxis, the extermination orders from your archives, the erased colonies near Elar Prime," she said. The speaker froze, unable to respond, because he knew it was all real. From that moment, the reckoning began. Planets demanded reparations, systems declared independence, and humanity, instead of invading, offered something no one expected in peace. Not submission, not domination, but alliance. "The galaxy does not need new rulers," Ward said. "It needs to remember its heart." Those words struck deeper than any weapon. Soon, emissaries from liberated worlds began visiting Earth. Some came to apologize, others came to learn. They found a world still scarred by its past but unbroken in spirit. They saw cities rebuilt under clear skies. They saw humans working side by side with former enemies. And they realized why the Council had always feared Earth. Because humanity's unity was contagious. In the void beyond Mars, the Leviathan floated silently, serving now as a symbol of protection rather than destruction. Its guns were quiet, but its presence reminded everyone that peace existed only because humanity allowed it. Erebus monitored galactic channels, ensuring the truth could never again be silenced. Every act of tyranny was now seen, every voice of rebellion now heard. Still, humanity did not trust easily. General Hale addressed the Terran Assembly, his voice deep and measured. "Forgiveness does not erase what was done," he said, "but justice will prevent it from happening again." The Assembly agreed. A new council was formed, the Concord of Free Worlds. Its first law was simple: no world shall ever kneel again. In the ruins of the old council capital, the High Speaker was tried. He stood before alien and human judges alike, his arrogance gone, replaced by emptiness. "You believed fear could rule forever," Captain Ward said to him. "But fear dies the moment courage takes its first breath." He lowered his head. Knowing she was right, his empire was gone. His pride turned to ash. When the verdict was read, the galaxy cheered, not out of vengeance but relief. The chains had finally broken, for the first time in history. There were no masters, only voices, and those voices spoke together, not in fear but in choice. As the stars burned softly over the new dawn, humanity stood quietly, watching the galaxy rebuild. They had not conquered it, they had reshaped it. Through fire, through truth, through the unbreakable will to stand. The reckoning was complete, but the future was just beginning. The stars had never been so quiet. For centuries they had been witnesses to wars, empires, and endless cruelty. But now, they watched something new. Peace slowly being born, fragile yet real. The great fleets that once patrolled the galaxy no longer hunted. They drifted silently, symbols of lessons learned through fire and ashes. The council was gone, its towers in ruins, its symbols erased. In its place stood the Concord of Free Worlds, a coalition formed not by power, but by choice. Species that once feared each other now shared tables, exchanged knowledge, rebuilt homes. And at the heart of it all, though unseen, was humanity, the race that had burned the galaxy's pride and reshaped the destiny of the stars. On Earth, dawn painted the skies with golden fire. The air was calm, the ocean shimmered, and the scars of war slowly faded. Children played under rebuilt cities. Unaware that their world had once been on the brink of extinction, they only knew peace and stories. Stories whispered by parents and elders. Stories of the day humanity refused to kneel, and how that defiance changed everything. General Marcus Hale had grown old. He stood on the balcony of the new Terran command, watching the sun rise over a peaceful planet. Director Liu joined him, carrying a small metal case. Inside it rested an ancient flag, the first banner raised during Earth's unification. "Do you think they'll remember?" she asked quietly. Hale smiled faintly. "They won't need to," he said. "The stars will remember for them." Above them, the HSS Leviathan orbited silently, now a monument, its guns deactivated, its corridors filled with light and life, part museum, part academy. A place where future generations from every species came to learn the truth. Holograms of the war played through its vast halls not as trophies but as warnings. A plaque at the entrance bore simple words engraved in steel. "Strength without mercy brings ruin. Mercy without strength invites chains." Humanity chose balance across the galaxy. The legend of the Death Worlders became myth. Alien poets wrote songs of the humans who burned empires yet spared the weak. Scholars debated how a young species from a single blue world had changed everything. But among all the stories, one phrase endured: "The humans watch." It was said that when tyranny rose again, when empires forgot their lessons, the humans would return, not as conquerors, but as guardians, and so, even without showing themselves, their presence kept peace alive. No ruler dared raise fleets of oppression again, because somewhere out there in the dark, humanity was listening in the outer rim of the galaxy. A small alien child named Tira stood on a cliff overlooking her world's twin suns. She held a small metal pendant, the symbol of the Terran conquered. Her father told her the stories of the humans, how they had come from a distant world of storms and oceans, how they had stood when no one else dared. "Are they real, Father?" she asked softly. He smiled, his eyes reflecting the sunrise. "Yes," he said, "they are real, but they walk in shadows now, guiding us from afar, far beyond their world." In the endless dark, a human vessel drifted silently. Its hull bore no markings, its lights dim, its systems quiet. Inside, a new generation of humans trained in silence. They studied alien languages, diplomacy, and warfare. They were not soldiers of conquest. They were watchers, peacekeepers. They were the unseen hand that ensured no empire ever rose to enslave the stars again. Captain Elena Ward stood at the bridge of that ship, the HSS Horizon. Her face older, her eyes still bright with fire. Before her stretched the infinite ocean of stars. "Status report," she asked calmly. "All sectors stable. Conquered negotiations holding strong," her officer replied. She nodded, satisfied. "Then set course for the edge," she said. "The light ends there, but that's where the next story begins." The ship's engines flared to life, painting streaks of blue fire against the void as it vanished into hyperspace. The stars seemed to shimmer brighter. Some said it was only light. Others believed it was something more. The universe acknowledging the guardians who had given it a second chance. On Earth, as night fell, the skies glittered with more stars than ever before. To most, they were just lights in the darkness. But to those who remembered, they were reminders. Each one a promise whispered across eternity. That humanity's spirit would never fade, never bow, never die. And so the galaxy moved forward. Free at last, empires rebuilt, worlds healed, and peace took root where ashes once lay, yet hidden between constellations. Unseen by most eyes, a signal pulsed, faint, rhythmic, eternal. It carried only 3 words, echoing through time and space: "We are watching." The stars would never forget the day the Death Worlders stood unbroken, nor the dawn that followed when humanity became the light that guided them all.